It's so dark in here. Well, this is fitting for an October wrap-up, part 1. It is so dark outside. It's kind of like foggy and dark. And it's only like, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What is going on? I don't know. But I'm here to share with you what I have read so far in October and what I'm currently reading right this minute. I've read already 6 books in October, which is pretty darn good. They've all been a little bit on the spooky side. Apologies also for the state of me. I just brushed my hair, threw on some makeup, and here I am. Like, bleh, just not feeling my most glamorous, let me tell you, but I do feel cozy, and that's a good thing. So let's get into what I have read so far. We're gonna start with the tippy top like we usually do, and then move our way to the although it's been a good reading month so far, so I don't have anything terrible to share with you in any way, shape, or form. But I'm gonna start with the 1 5-star read that I've read this month, and it was fantastic. It's Thornhill by Pam. I think you say Smy. I probably should have looked that up in advance, but I didn't. This is a stunning book because it blends illustrations and text. Oh, that's more illustrations. Nope. Promise you there's text. It blends the two. And what it does is tell 2 stories. The illustrations follows a girl in present day. She's moved to a new home, and it overlooks Thornhill, which is a kind of orphanage asylum thing. And she sees a girl on the grounds and in the house of Thornhill. Now, Thornhill has been like shut down for many years now, so she kind of investigates in the illustrations. And then we follow a girl named Mary in these pages and pages of diary entries. She lives in Thornhill while it's open, so we're going back in time. And she's explaining what's going on in the orphanage asylum thing. She's particularly afraid of one girl in particular, and she keeps referring to her as she and her, and she doesn't say her name. Mary, lives in the attic of Thornhill, and she creates all of these dolls. She's really artistic and talented, and it is truly terrifying. Like, I was reading it, and at the end, as I was going along, I was like, just so enthralled. I wanted to know what was going to happen to Mary. I wanted to know how our main character was going to discover Mary and learn about Mary's history. I absolutely loved it. It was beautiful, like beautiful to look at. The drawings are just stunning. It was a beautiful story in a really creepy, beautiful way. And I can't wait to read more by Pam. Like, I'm hoping that she will come out with more. Yeah, if you have like a horror lover in your life, I feel like this would be a beautiful gift to give them. Really nice. Okay, now we're moving into some 4-star reads. There are quite a few 4-star reads. So first we should talk about a book that I read with my Patreon group. This was actually the September pick, and I didn't finish it until very, very early October. And that is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I really enjoyed this. This follows 2 lovers who live in Nigeria. Now, Nigeria is really struggling at this time. They're both really amazing students. However, there is a lot of political upheaval in Nigeria at this time, and things are shutting down, and classes are being postponed, and they just don't want to wait anymore. They don't want their whole lives to be on pause, so they leave separately. Our main character goes to America, and then her lover ends up going to England, and it's about their experiences being Black in America and being Black in England, and the racism that they encounter. Our main character, Efemelu, she ends up actually creating a blog while she's in America. And those are my favorite. It was my favorite part of the whole thing, were her blog posts. And she literally is talking about being Black in America, but being Black from somewhere where racism, it's not really a thing in Nigeria. She never experienced racism the way that it is so overwhelmingly experienced in America. She'd never experienced it before, and so she's able to have this outsider perspective, like, what is going on with your country, I found that really fascinating and quite funny. This could be quite funny. There were a lot of characters in here that I really cared about, and then there were characters that I really hated. So we follow Efemelu when she moves. She obviously, they kind of go their separate ways, and you know that right from the beginning, that they go their separate ways, these lovers, and you're wondering the whole time if they're going to find their way back to each other. But in the meantime, as you're reading it, you read about her boyfriends in America, who I struggled with them a lot of the time. I did really enjoy this. I must say that I did find it a little bit slow-paced at times, and there were moments where I just wanted to get to another blog post quite a bit. There was a lot of that for me. I did really enjoy it, and I definitely want to read more by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's such a smart writer, and she has so much to say, so much important things to say. So I enjoyed that a lot. Another 4-star read is another book that we read for the Patreon book club. They chose, I guess Nora chose, because it was tied between The Familiars and The Bass Rock. Nora ended up having to choose and break the tie, and she chose The Familiars. So we all read The Familiars together. This is by Stacey Halls, and I wanted to read with the group a book about witches in history, and you're always wondering, are they really witches? Probably not. It's probably just the patriarchy being terrible. And this kind of showcased that in The Familiars. This follows a woman named Fleetwood. It's the early 1600s, and she's pregnant. Now, she's had many miscarriages before, and she's terrified of losing another baby. She ends up finding a letter, actually, from her doctor to her husband saying if she has another child, she's going to die. Don't let her get pregnant again. And so she's freaking out. She actually finds a midwife, or what they call a wise woman, who comes into her life, named Alice, and she says, I'm really going to try and get you through this. Like, I have confidence that you'll be able to carry this baby to term and you won't die. And they become friends, and they lean on each other. However, at some point in this book, Alice is accused of being, sorry, that's driving me nuts. Whatever. What is going on with my hair? Don't carry, bro. Okay. Alice is accused of being a witch, and it's up to Fleetwood to save her for multiple reasons. She cares about Alice, obviously, and also she feels that Alice is the link between her and not dying in childbirth. I really enjoyed the character development in this book. Like, at the beginning, Fleetwood, you discover, is quite young. She's like in her teens, and she's married to an older man, and that was just kind of normal in this time, which is disturbing. But I felt like she really grew over time. I didn't love her at the beginning, and at the end, I was cheering her on, and I just really, really enjoyed her. This also, Stacey Halls is really great for writing slightly happier endings, which is rare for the books that I read. So that was nice. I also really liked that, it really did put a spotlight on what it would be like at that time to be a woman. Whether you're being accused of witchcraft or not, just being a woman, the only way to survive it is essentially to follow the patriarchy, to be quiet, to be agreeable, and to just go along with it all. And that's not a way to be. And anyone who basically stood up against the patriarchy would be either accused of witchcraft or would be threatened by that. And I found it really interesting, and I enjoyed it. So I've read both of Stacey Hall's books now, and now I'm just like waiting for another one, but I don't think I'm going to get another one for a little while because The Lost Orphan just came out this year, sadly. So I'll have to wait. I also gave Little Secrets by Jennifer Hillier 4 stars. This was my first Jennifer Hillier, and I'm really excited to read more by her. I think I have Jar of Hearts on my shelves, and she has a whole big old backlist. It's fun sometimes to find thriller writers that you enjoy. Now, I will say, I guessed everything in this book because that's kind of how I would have written it. So this story is about a woman who has lost her son. They were at a Christmas market. She was shopping with her son. She let go of his hand for a second, and then someone dressed as Santa Claus whisked him away and kidnapped him. It's a year later. She's still devastated. She still gets a call from her best friend every morning that says, still alive? Because she's had suicidal thoughts. As you can imagine, it would not be easy in any way, shape, or form to lose your child and then try to get on with your life, not having any answers whatsoever. She has hired a private investigator. Unfortunately, the stuff that this private investigator has dug up aren't very helpful. And are like further her devastation because she finds out that her husband of many years is cheating on her. And so she also starts diving into who is this other woman and exploring all of that. So I will say I was not surprised by any of the twists and turns. I guessed them all, but I was kind of glad where it went. I wanted it to go a certain way, and it did. But that meant that there weren't any surprises for me, which for many people, that's the reason why they read thrillers. That said, I thought this was really well written around her character, this main character who is a mom and who's devastated. It really explores grief and the sadness and the confusion and the guilt that I could imagine surrounding a woman who lost her child and blames herself for losing the child. I really liked that. I liked the supporting characters. I thought it was pretty darn good, and I gave it 4 stars, not 5, 4 stars. Another thriller that I gave 4 stars is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. Wow. What a wild ride this turned out to be. So His and Hers is about a couple who have split up. Their daughter died. You find that out earlier on, that their daughter died. That is kind of why they're no longer together. He is a police investigator and she is a BBC reporter. And since their daughter has died, she has become like a big name in the news industry. Unfortunately, the woman she was replacing who went on mat leave has come back. And now she's kind of trying to carve out a name for herself and like trying to, you know, maintain her status in her career. So when she finds out that there was a murder of a woman at her hometown, she goes to cover it and soon discovers that it was her childhood friend, who her husband, they're not divorced yet, her separated husband, estranged husband, also knew. They both knew this woman. And it dives into that storyline. Now, I have to say, I don't even know how long, like 100 pages in, maybe even more, I was like, this is not, like, there's nothing new here. Nothing exciting is happening yet. I'm just kind of bored by this. Is this Alice Feeney at all? And then it really ramped up. I will say, I wish that the blurb on the back somewhere would have referenced the women in this book, because all of the women in this book knew each other as like teenagers. They knew each other as teenagers, and this was a lot of Mean Girls. Like, if Mean Girls was more horror / thriller than what Mean Girls was as a movie. Yeah, they are really unlikable girls. And I really, really enjoyed it in the end. There was a scene at the end where I was actually terrified. I will say there was a little bit in here at the beginning of making fun. It seemed like she was making fun of a man who worked in the for the BBC, who had I think it was a lisp. He didn't pronounce his R's, which I also didn't do that when I was a little kid. And it seemed like they were making fun of him. I don't know if Alice Feeney was doing that or the main character was kind of doing that. I didn't really love that part. But I did find it terrifying as it went along, and I really ended up enjoying it. Kind of went from to wowza. Like, if the second half had been the way it was the whole way through, it would have been a 5-star read for me. There's that. Okay, 3 stars. I read Losing You by Nikki French. I actually just finished listening to it today. I listened to this on audio. The narrator was amazing. So Losing You is about a woman who has just turned 40. She's about to go to Florida on vacation with her new boyfriend and her 2 kids. And unfortunately, her daughter goes missing. Now, her daughter has like created and like planned this whole surprise birthday party for her in the morning, which she like is not excited about because she's trying to like pack and get her stuff together. In the meantime, her daughter goes missing. And I did enjoy a lot of this. I did find people extremely annoying in this book. Other than the main character, the mother is like on the hunt for her daughter. She kind of does it herself. The police are involved, but they're not overly helpful. So she's like, right, I can't sit by the phone and wait for the police to do the work. I'm going to investigate it myself. And she really does. And so she encounters a lot of annoying people who aren't helpful in any way, shape, or form. So I found that excruciatingly frustrating at times. I don't feel like everyone would have been that annoying. I feel like people would be a little bit more helpful than they were in this book. But it was good. And I will say though, I did kind of predict who it was in the end, why her daughter was missing, who had a hand in it. So I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I mean, it's still Nikki French's writing, and their writing is just fantastic. So I enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite Nikki French. So that's everything I've read thus far. And now I'll share with you what I'm reading right now. I just started listening to The Nanny by Gilly McMillan on audio. This is about a young girl. How old is she? It doesn't. Oh, 7. 7-year-old Joe in the summer of 1987. Her nanny leaves suddenly without saying goodbye. She's completely devastated. She's not very close to her family. I think they're like aristocratic and don't really have a big role in her life, I guess, and leave it to the nannies. And she's devastated and wonders her whole life what happened. And so 30 years later, there is another tragedy, and Joe, this main character, ends up going back to her childhood home. They discover a skull in the lake by the home, and she starts wondering, is that the nanny? Did the nanny actually leave of her own accord, or was her nanny actually killed on the grounds? It sounds wonderful, and I'm watching The Haunting of Bly Manor, and I think this is why I ended up going with this, because I'm all about a creepy nanny story. So I'm listening to this. This is also my first Gilly Macmillan, I should say. So I'm hoping that I'll really, really like it, and then I'll have a lot more of her stuff to choose from. So we'll see about that. And then I am reading, sorry if that just knocked something here. So dark in here. Oh my gosh. And then I'm reading Rewind by Catherine Ryan Howard. So this is about Natalie, who goes to stay at the Shannon Moore Cottages. She's there for a very particular reason, which I will not divulge because it's a bit of a spoiler, but she's there to investigate something. However, there is a very creepy manager. So we read from her perspective, and then we also read from Andrew's perspective, who is the manager. And he is creepy because he literally has a hidden camera in each of the cottages and watches the people who come to stay at the cottages. Now, one night he is watching, I think, Natalie. He's watching a room, and he sees that the woman is asleep, and then he sees a figure enter the room, and then he sees that figure murder the woman and then turn to the camera and destroy the camera. So the figure knew that there was a camera there. The figure was also a murderer. Who is the figure? I don't know. And the way that it's structured is by the whole thing of play, pause, rewind, and then you can kind of situate where you are in the story based on that. It's really good so far. I have to say, I'm excited because the writing is fantastic. I have The Nothing Man on the way right now. They are sending it again, which is so nice of them. And then I ended up getting another one of her books. So I have a feeling she is going to be a new favorite thriller writer. They're very dark stories, or this one is at least. And I'm just loving it so far. So, but I'm only like, 80, 90 pages in, but still really, really good. So that's everything I have read. That is what I'm reading right now. And I hope that you guys are doing well. Let me know in the comments below what you are reading right now. Are you reading anything good? Are you reading anything spooky? I would love to know, and I will talk with you soon. Bye, everybody.